And hello, we are live. I'd like to welcome everybody to Let's Talk Fishing Video Podcast. My name is Jay Angel, and it is my distinct pleasure to be able to introduce Phillip Hudock from Fourseven Lures. Fourseven Lures is a soft plastic bait company, and I'm going to let Phillip talk about how you doing tonight, Phillip.
Good. I'm doing great. It's been raining the whole week here, so plenty of time to fill orders and have a good time inside. Not fishing.
Yes. So soft plastic lures. Oh my God, I love soft plastic lures. And I have 3 duffel bags full.
That's it?
Oh, stuff. And I write salt, bass, otherwise.
I probably got about 1,000 bags of I was always a finesse fisherman. I probably have, I'm not even joking, probably around 1,000 bags of Cincos and the Zoom trick worms. And this is all before I started making them. So I literally, in the warehouse, I have like a 5-foot, it's an old refrigerator box. And I just threw all the packs. I probably have like 1,000 packs of them, just packs and packs and packs of baits. I never get a chance to fish them, but that's where they lay. That's their permanent resting spot.
One thing I'd like to ask you, Phillip. So Fourseven Lures.
Mm-hmm.
What makes Fourseven Lures different?
We focus on baits that move water in a different manner than your traditional soft plastics.
Explain, please.
So basically as a bait falls through the water, it gives off a certain vibration. So we focus on baits that kind of disrupt that vibration and just do it in a different manner. So as an example of that, I have one of our wacky worms right here. This is called the reactor worm. And you'll notice that it's ribbed all the way through the bait, right? So that means as it falls, these individual ribs are catching water, and
they are that close to.
Yeah. Oh, let's see here. There we go. That's probably as good as it's going to get because my camera.
That looks like a centipede. Yeah.
Exactly. So as it falls, all these ribs catch water and they move the water in a different way. And the fish, their lateral line, they can feel that. So it really just makes a reaction strike.
I think we could all go back to when we were kids and we had aquariums.
Mm-hmm.
Finesse fishing. When you threw, I was an evil kid. Okay, I would take erasers and break them off and throw them into my aquarium, and they would go just a little piece, and my sickles would come up and then they would spit it out. That's a reaction strike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as you can imagine, if you have a hook in that, right, like they're going to reaction strike at it, and you've just caught a fish, right? It's that easy, that's the whole point. It moves water in they're like, oh God, what is that, right? So they bite at it.
Yes, they sense it with their lateral line. They turn, they look at it, they see something.
That's it.
But then that's why you have to have a superior rod and braid. Because you have to be able to feel the second that thing hits, because the bass is going to.
Yep, spit it right out. Yep.
And man, when you have it, and that's when we were talking about scent. That's one of the things. If they bite it and then they taste it too, they might keep it for that fraction of a second longer to let you set that hook.
I'm not sure if scent works or doesn't work. We sell like 12 of them, and they're hugely popular add-ons. I don't. It's like $1 extra to have me add scent to your baits. So. Hugely popular. I just don't use them a lot.
I'll tell you what catches fish is the confidence of the fisherman.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think that the your confidence color is going to give you a whole lot more, fish in the boat versus something that just smells like garlic or something that smells like coffee or whatever it is.
Because you're going to be fishing that harder, fishing it longer.
Well, and you're more patient with it. That's the other thing, with finesse fishing is like, a lot of people have to slow down. It's like you can't throw a wacky worm out there and just rip it through the water. I mean, you could, maybe it might work sometimes, but you really have to just slow down and start being more in tune with the feel of the bite.
I have had guys on here who have had won Elite Series tournaments, wacky rigging, and they tell me, okay, I'm looking at that cypress tree. I cast it out against that cypress tree. It falls in the perfect spot, and I'm reeling it up, so I'm just barely, have just positive control of it. It hits the bottom, tap, 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 nothing, pull it in, throw it back out 6 inches to the right of that.
Yeah, the guy that just won the most recent Bassmaster, he's like 28 or something, and he had 2 rods. He had a shaky head and a wacky worm. And that's what he fished the entire tournament. Maybe it wasn't the Bassmaster. It was one of the opens or something like that. But it was that's what he fished the whole tournament with: a shaky head and a wacky worm, and he won $100,000.
Guys, look at this color. This is a color I don't normally use in wacky rig, but I love it. I mean, this is a smallmouth bass color right here.
Yeah, that's we call that Carolina pumpkin, and it's like a browny purple. It's a very natural look. Like anywhere that there's any sort of natural forage, earthworms, anything like that, that's what that mimics. Hugely popular too. That color slays large and smallmouth bass.
Oh, I have every bit of confidence I could catch largemouth bass from one side of the United States to the other, and from the top to the bottom of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And up into Canada and Mexico.
We also have this color in. We actually offer this color in a bunch of. I make these little 3-inch like jerk minnows. You put them on like a size 1 jig head or something like that, and yeah, this natural color, man, it just slays them all day long.
Now with wacky rigging, when I was up north, I like to use a size 4 octopus hook because it just goes around it and it makes it a little bit weedless. And I don't like to use the fancy stuff. I don't use O-rings or. But I came down here, and I couldn't use 6-pound test line anymore. I couldn't use just a 6-foot medium action because the fish are bigger, they're meaner, and there's 100,000 times more cover down here. A cypress tree might have 600 needs around it. And, one of the first things that happened, I actually posted this on Facebook today. I was fishing with a guy who he had a soft plastics company, and I was using one of his lures, and I was using one of my northern bass spinning rods, and I hooked into a giant of a bass on a wacky rig, and I was fighting it. It got down in those weeds, and I was trying to pull it up, and I pulled out that little hook. And the guy looked at that hook and he goes, "Is this a perch hook?" He meant bluegill.
Right.
Look at this thing, man. You look at this thread that you're using. My God, look at this little bitty rod.
All my so I have a dedicated wacky rod. It's a spinner, of course, but it's actually a toadfish rod. It's a 7.4 medium.
Toadfish, okay.
Yeah, 7.4 medium light and extra fast on the tip. So it's nice and whippy. And I do 10-pound backing braid. I use a Yozuri high-vis braid all the way up to, I fill the entire spool with that. And then I do about 10 feet of 8-pound fluoro as my leader. And then I use a size 2 or a size, what is it, like a 1/0 or a 1 of the Owner Mosquito light hooks. Those are the best hooks I've found. They never dull out. They never bend out. I mean, I've used the same hook, going on years because it just never bends and it never, unless they rip the entire rod off or you break it off on like cover or something like that. I mean, you'll never have to change hooks.
Here's what I like to use. This is the Grant rods with, I believe, this is a dial reel. 7-foot medium. It's this one isn't very whippy.
I love to have an extra fast tip on mine, man. I love the tips to be so whippy. It's like,
I just got a rod that's whippy. The one I ordered for this year for my rod partner.
When you're throwing a Senko, like a weightless Senko, I mean, you almost need the tip to be very whippy, so that way you can. I mean, I can cast that thing a mile, and it's weightless. I mean, it weighs less than an ounce, less than a quarter of an ounce, and I can cast it a freaking mile with that thing. I also have a Daiwa, a Regal, my reel.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, down here we don't cast we don't cast very far because you have to get it out of the cover. You have to get it out of the cover now. You can't be messing around with that. You just got to get it out of the cover. And so I like to use I like to use 20-pound. Actually, I use this. Yeah, this is 20-pound braid. It's made by Diamond Fishing Products.
I feel like 20-pound is too heavy for finesse. I mean, for a wacky rig, don't you think it's like?
Well, this stuff is really good. It has a very, very, very small diameter. And also, if it's not going to work, sometimes the conditions just don't want to allow it. I have to go smaller. I also have a rod with 10-pound braid on it, like you said. Then also it goes to a 10-pound fluoro leader.
I think I think all my rods are 10-pound braid to 8-pound leader, with the exception, I have a jigging rod. It's all 12-pound fluoro, and that's like one of the only bait casters I have. Because with a jig, you're trying to be like way more precise. You're trying to place it exactly where it is that you want, and you're doing a lot of like roll casting and stuff with a jig.
Yes.
So that's all 12-pound fluoro, and then I have two large swim bait rods. So I have one that's like 1 to 5 ounce swim baits or glide baits. That's all.
Okay. Yeah. So you're talking hard swim baits. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's all 17-pound fluoro, and then I have one that is 5 to 14 ounce glide baits. Like
wow,
super heavy, like musky pike.
Like muskies.
Musky pike. Yeah. I mean, actually, you could take it inshore. Like actually, me and a buddy went and fished. We caught sharks the other week out in the ocean. So, I mean, you could, by accident actually, but we were throwing the bait into a big bait pod, and we were actually going for Spanish mackerel, and sharks just happened to take it. But yeah, I mean, I've heard rumor of some people catching bass on swim glide baits that big, but
yes, in fact, a very good friend of mine, David Swinside, does that.
Mm-hmm.
He loves to do that. David Swinside is next level. Some people are just good at what they do. You know that.
Yeah, I'm in North Carolina, and we have just muddy garbage water everywhere. I don't think there's a clean lake anywhere. There's one out in Wilmington. That's the only one I've ever known about. And
I can commiserate with you. I'm in southern Louisiana.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, you take a glide bait out here, and you're going to throw it for like 12 hours and not get a single bite. You might get one bite in that 12 hours, and I guess that's the bite that people are looking for. Sort of like
if it's a 10-pound bass, all those casts were worth it.
I agree with that, but like, dude, if I'm going out fishing for 10 hours, I don't want to just catch nothing for 10 hours, especially when we're talking like back to back, and I'm taking a kayak out or a boat or something. It's like, dude, I want to try and get on some fish. I don't care if they're small.
What I want to talk about your dice lures.
Okay. Yeah, I got some right here, actually. Let me see if we can't get this camera right. Yeah, there we go.
Now, I know about dice lures. I've also heard them called cubes and alien things, But
yeah, I know all about alien stuff.
That's another reaction bite right there. Just it's finesse. It's super finesse. David Swinside would tell me to use 5-pound test on that, just like with all of his spy baits.
That's way too light. I'd be using again, I do everything 10-pound back and braid all the way out to like a 10-foot, leader. And I'd either go 6 or 8-pound on the leader, but this is 100% a drop shot bait.
Okay. If you're drop shotting, you wouldn't have to use the super finesse type, but if you put that on, okay, if we're up north, we're fishing a sand flat for smallmouth bass. Mm-hmm. I don't care if it's 12 feet deep. I'm going to put it on 5-pound test. I'm going to have a super whippy rod, and I'm going to cast it, and I'm just going to let that thing. If it takes 3 minutes to get down there, I'm just going to sit there and wait, because I know at the end of those 3 minutes there were 6 smallmouth bass sitting there going, "What the hell is that? What is that thing, man? What is it? Let's go get it."
These So something that I do differently that a lot of companies don't, most companies just use silicone hairs, right? Now, silicone, just like a jig, when it hits the bottom, it just lays flat. So these will just kind of like wilt like a flower petal, and it just lays flat. These are rubber. All the legs on any of my hairy baits, I make a couple of them, they're all rubber, which means that one, they displace water weirdly as they fall because they kind of twitch. So all these legs will just be kind of vibrating as they fall. But they also stick straight up underwater. So this bait hits the ground and it's just going to sit here just like this. These hairs will be sticking straight up underwater. And that means that they can catch current. That means that it can distort the water as it's sitting on the bottom. So that's one thing that is different about mine. All of my, I have some, I came out with the Aerosphere, which is like the hairy ball baits, similar to like the Q-bomb. And that uses rubber legs. The hairy dice I make uses rubber legs. We make little Ned worms that have hairs in them. Those all use rubber legs. So that's one thing that is different, is the fact that I'm using rubber legs. Everyone else is using silicone. I don't think there's one company actually that is using rubber legs on anything.
Guys, you got to check this out, man. This stuff is innovative. He has a ribbed leech that looks really cool.
Which one are you talking about? The bloodworm?
It's shaped like a leech, and it's ribbed for the entire lure.
Is it this one?
Yes.
Oh, so this is the flex fin shad.
Okay.
Let's see. Hold it up there. Yeah, the whole thing is ribbed, and of course you can see this tail is moving crazy. But you put this thing on like a 1/0 jig head, or even if you Texas rig it. You put a free weight on the line, something like that. I mean, basically, it just looks like a fish. This thing will nose down, and this tail just goes crazy.
Do you have that thing in like a brown color?
I can make these in any color you want, man.
Because if you put on a drop shot and put that like this far off the bottom up north and sat there and did this, you would be smallmouth bass and walleyes.
Yeah. I mean, I have it in Carolina pumpkin is what comes to mind, but I mean, there's a color that we do called earth, and it is like a darker brown with red and blue flake in it. Brown. I don't know why it works so well. It's like right up there with like watermelon red. You get
watermelon red.
Yeah, you get like a brown jig, and it's like, dude, you'll get bites all day long. Or watermelon colored anything.
See, that's a new market for you, man. Trying to get that stuff to market it to walleye fishermen.
Well, I'm certainly open to marketing to whoever it is that wants to fish them. To be honest with you.
I mean, I have caught walleyes on some crazy stuff, but most walleye fishermen started out their life in the fishing world as bait fishermen, and they're going to look at that thing and they say that thing's in the same shape as a leech. And leeches are fantastic baits for both smallmouth bass and walleyes. I've caught trophy walleyes and actually I've caught trophy largemouth bass on leeches too. Fishing for walleyes, I got a big, no, this isn't, what is this? I've caught thousands of largemouth bass, but I'm like, that's not going to help in a walleye tournament.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing is if you rig this thing to the side like this, looks like a bait fish. Like
it does.
This profile swimming like this, like looks like a bait fish,
Or if you do like this and it goes like that, it looks like a leech. Man, that is a versatile little bait you have there.
Yeah, these things are super popular. I can't sell enough of these, man. I mean, we release these things and it's just been game on ever since. These things, I very commonly will make 20, 30 bags of these a week and shipping them out and everything.
So if people went to foursevenlures.com, could they order directly from your website?
Absolutely. Yep. I have it all set up so that the website calculates shipping and tax and all that sort of stuff. You can just add it to your cart, just like any other, like Tackle Warehouse or whatever. Just add it to your cart, go to checkout and put in your information, and it will work its magic. So.
Wow. The only difference is if they contact customer service, they're contacting the owner of the company and not some customer service guy who gets paid $9 an hour.
Well, yeah. So there's a couple of guys that I work with, and I discourage them from answering the phone. But it happens sometimes. So it's either going to be me or them. But,
okay. It's possible to talk to you.
Yes, it's 100% possible to talk to me. I do take like customer feedback and stuff. I have had, and this is something that we're kind of trying to move away from a little bit because we're moving more into like a production standard. But
sure.
I still do custom work, So like if you needed a custom color, you can contact me and I can create the color for you and work with you to get it. I actually had someone buy like 100 bags of red shad from me in a finesse worm. And they were just like, yeah, we had this guy, he made it for us, but it was a limited run and now he's out of business. Can I get this made? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. You know? So yeah, I mean, and like I said, we're trying to move away from that a little bit because we're moving more into a production standard, which is like focusing on specific baits in specific colors instead of, you know, being spread razor thin over 1,000 different colors and baits and customizations and all that sort of stuff. So, but I still do custom work. It's just not as like, you know, out there. So if you did need to contact me about anything, and then the other thing, it is manufacturing, you know, and mistakes happen, right? I've had bad batches of plastic go out that I didn't know about, right? You know, manufacturer sends me a bad batch. I get to work, me and my guys, we cast up a bunch of baits, we package them, we send them out, right? A week later, I get a call, hey, this bait is cloudy, or hey, this color has slipped or something, you know, and then I got to look into it and figure it out. I did have a bad batch of plastic like that one time.
Yeah.
And, you know, so people will contact me directly, hey, I have an issue with the order. You know, and obviously that doesn't happen a lot, but that's, you know, so yeah, if you reach out to me, email 100%, it'll be me, and chatting through the website too. If you like, there's a ask a question feature on the website, and then the phone, like I have it so that the business phone forwards to my cell phone, but it doesn't work all the time. So you're either going to get me or one of my bonehead guys that I work with.
Sure.
50-50, I guess.
Well, see, that's why I like to work with small companies. You know, like when I was working with Daiwa, I didn't even know who. I worked for my rep, and I'm like, "Who do you work for?" He's like, "Well, sometimes I work for this guy, sometimes I work for that guy." And
yeah, there's definitely a level of customer service that the big companies can't offer. You know, like try calling Zoom up and telling them that one of your baits was messed up in your bag, right? They're not going to care.
You can take that up with Academy.
Yeah.
You know,
let me transfer you to the complaint department, and then they'll just hang up. You know.
Yeah. Yes, and you know, that's why I like to work with companies like you. There's a personal level there, and you know, companies, the small to mid-size operators care.
Mm-hmm.
Because
the other thing is like we don't have, you know, I don't have 1,000 people making $9 an hour, and I don't have, you know, so it's very important to me, like customer service, and I think that's something that also sets people apart in the industry, customer service, you know.
Absolutely, and that's why I promote guys like you. You know, I want the small operators, and I have helped a lot of companies get themselves off the ground. And, you know, I take ownership of my part.
That's certainly lacking these days.
My part is marketing.
Right.
I am a fisherman. I am a fisherman.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of my identity. Part of it.
I started as a fisherman, but then I started this company, and now I never have time to fish.
Well, that's what they say. If you want to never fish again, go into the fishing industry.
Yeah, that's right. You know, it's like, I mean, I shouldn't say that. I probably could take some time on some random Saturday or something, but it's always a toss-up for me. It's like, I have a queue of orders. I mean, like, there's not a moment that goes by where I don't have like 30 orders waiting in a queue, you know, like, so I'm like, should I spend 5 hours throwing a wacky worm, or should I like do the right thing and just get some orders knocked out, like be good customer service and like cater to the customer, you know? And I always choose catering to the customer. So,
or should I process 300 orders?
Yeah. And right now we're actually getting ready to, so we have a trade show coming up in January of 2026. It's the biggest bass and saltwater trade show in North Carolina. And it's at the fairgrounds. It's, you know, like a big exhibition type of deal, and it's 3 days. So I'm bringing about 2,000 packs of baits. So right now, I mean, we're in the thick of it. I mean, I've been making, you know, baits every single day. You know, I usually will do, a couple hundred in the morning, every single morning, and just kind of build it up from there, and offer different colors and all that sort of stuff. But it's quite an undertaking. It's a lot of stuff that has to come together for something like that. So, but the flip side is that it's the biggest show in all of North Carolina, and actually several states around the area, and they have something like 25,000 individual people passing through the booths every day. So
nice.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge exposure for us.
Yeah, because you have to sell a lot of soft plastics just to get your money back.
Well, the thing is, you don't go into doing something like a trade show of that size with the expectation that you're going to make money back. Because, just for the amount of money that, I have to put out to be a vendor.
Yes.
Just to be a vendor, it's, a lot of,
a lot of money. Huge investment.
And then I have to, there's all sorts of other stuff too, like the display racks. Those cost money. It's about $300 for a set of 3 display racks that are 8 feet tall, right? That I'm going to hang baits on, like the metal racks, right?
Yeah.
The hanging pegs. There's all sorts of stuff. Lights. There's all sorts of stuff, and then you have your actual display, your tablecloths, like. I'm going to have a test tank, right, with the baits in there, right? But all of that stuff, it's like people don't really think about how much that kind of adds up over time, And that's also the reason that we're starting, almost an entire year in advance to try and get everything situated and make sure that we put our best foot forward and give everyone the best show that, we can. So,
man, take your wacky worms. Take that leech.
Yeah, 100%. So these, we're actually, for the trade show, we're focusing on like 10 baits, and we're going to do a custom beaver. This is it right here. Yeah, this is our custom beaver. It's ribbed on the sides, so it again, it displaces water.
I would probably cut off a couple of those things, and I would punch with that.
Oh, this is a perfect punching bait, man. Even with the little fins on it and everything, it's like, I don't know, it's like weedless almost. These things just like, even if you rig it normal Texas wig, I don't know, these things like, they're great. And then they have these little ribs on the end. I don't know if you can see that. It's like a thickness at the end of the legs, and that makes the legs just kick. Just go absolutely crazy.
Do you have a smaller version of your beaver?
No, this is a 4.2, and that's right now the only one that we have. But like I said, we're going to focus.
2.5, 2 3/4 works really well down here.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll have to look into getting a smaller version of it then, because
like the baby D-bomb that missile makes.
Yeah.
Down here, and I'm sure the only reason I said that is because that's what I usually catch bass on. That and of course, wacky rigging.
Of course. And then we're gonna bring. Let's see. We've got this is just a normal speed worm.
Oh yeah,
and
Florida.
Man, people don't throw speed worms. Yeah, well, people don't throw them anymore. This is an old.
They do in Florida.
That's because they work.
Yes.
Everywhere else, though, they don't throw them anymore because, there were Bassmasters in the '80s that were won on speed worms. These things are crazy. Like, if you're not throwing
guard, like I had Lee Bailey Jr. on,
yep.
And that's what he wanted. He lives down in Florida now, right over by Cape Coral, and he said, I caught 3 8-pounders yesterday, and what'd you catch them on? The Zoom speed worm.
Yep. Yeah, it's an old school bait that a lot of people I guess it fell out of fashion or something. Like, a lot of people don't use it, but we're going to bring speed worms. And then, of course, we have a big, long ribbon tail. This is, I think this is a 7-inch worm, but it's just a normal, is
that
ribbon.
Only 7 inches?
It might hang a little bit higher. It might hang about 8, but so big old ribbon tail worm. This is also kind of an older school bait. A lot of people don't throw these anymore. I
would use that because
these are awesome.
Yeah.
You Texas rig this, and it's like, dude, you're going to catch something. Something's going to bite at it.
Big old nasty ribbon tail, like 10 or 12-inch long one. That's what they use over there in Sam Rayburn and Toledo Bend, but they Carolina rig them. A lot of those guys are going smaller with live scoping.
Mm-hmm.
That was old school. Go out there and throw it over, pre-spawn, throw it on the long points and just.
Yep. Just drag it along the bottom, man.
Just barely move it.
Yeah. Just twitch it along the bottom and it just kind of slithers along. And that tail, man, the tail does all the work, man.
But the most exciting things about Carolina rigging like that is all of a sudden you see your line. Sometimes I don't even feel it. You just see your line start moving off to the left or the right. You're like, oh God, take it. And you're like reeling down. You're waiting for that pop.
Yep. That's why I use all high vis on my, I use all high vis braid on my wacky rigs. Specifically so that I can see the line. Like if I cast it up under a dock or something and I just see the line twitch or start moving a different direction, I know a fish has gotten it,
That's a nice thing about a Senko is you can skip that thing 12 times, but after you've skipped it 12 times, just get a new one.
You're probably gonna rip the worm in half just casting it with a skip. Like it's gonna hit so hard on the water, you might get 1 or 2 casts out of it.
It has happened.
Yeah, we have a Senko weighs 10.5 grams. Ours weigh 9.5. For whatever that's worth. I mean, it's a little bit slower of a fall rate, but for whatever that's worth, I mean, it also makes it like a little bit more durable. I mean, we're only talking like a gram. Well, of course, this is split out through the entire length of the bait and everything. So, but we're talking about less salt. So the salt makes it a little bit more durable, has a little bit slower of a fall rate.
Well, that's what we say, that Senkos are actually filled with sand.
Man, I don't know if anyone's ever, it's always funny to me. No one has ever seemed to tour the Yamamoto USA factory. And believe me when I tell you, they are mixing 55-gallon barrels of plastic and 55-gallon barrels of salt. It is 1-to-1. They are doing, now conventional wisdom, every garage bait maker in the world will say, oh, you can only put 1/4 of a cup of salt per cup of plastic. That's total hogwash. Like you can mix exactly 1-to-1. Yamamoto does it. But you can actually see the big, drums like spinning, and you'll just see them pour, a big 55-gallon drum just directly in the mix, man, and spin it up.
Wow. That is crazy.
Those machines that he has, I'm sure he goes through every gasket you could possibly ever blow, because salt will destroy. I mean, it's like putting salt in the engine of your car, right? It's going to destroy all your gaskets. It's going to destroy anything rubber in there. Like,
oh yeah,
it's going to melt it. I
used to work on deep water drilling rigs. I know what salt can do because we spent half our time, wiping everything down with freaking WD-40.
Yep.
To get that salt off of it, so that stuff lasted longer than a week.
Yeah. Or you spend most of your time replacing everything. And it's like,
yes.
So I can only imagine. I mean, he's probably got people out there servicing machines and replacing gaskets like every single day of the week because he's using so much salt.
Now we know why they cost so much.
I don't know why they cost so much, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, like, I think, what are they at? $9 now for 8 stick baits for 8 Senkos? And, I don't see that they work any better than the stick baits that we make, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, but fish are not going to,
I haven't used the stick baits that and the only time I'm going to use a Senko is when I have to cast a country mile.
Yeah, the weight will. And the other thing I don't like is they drop like rocks, man. I mean,
yes.
It's so heavy in the water.
That's one thing I always tell people is a lot of bass lures target the top, a lot of them target the bottom, and you have some crankbaits that do this, but with the way that we fish crankbaits for bass, they go.
Mm-hmm.
So this area is not being targeted very much, and that's why I used to use the Yum Dingers, because they had that slit in them, and they just went very slowly. A 4-inch dinger is going to, if you're fishing 3 feet of water, you want that to be in the strike zone, which is right here. And if it's going like this, back and forth, that fish is looking at that thing.
Yeah, I will say that I like, like if I wanted to fish the bottom of the lake, I would just use a jig or something, or like a heavier shaky head, like if I want to get it down there, I'll get it down there. But like, I don't think that if you're wacky fishing, I don't think that's the point of throwing a wacky worm. I think you want it to slowly sink and be in that strike zone as long as possible.
And that's why I liked the missile baits, the 48, because it would go like this when it was going down the whole way. It was wobbling.
Yeah, those little like bulbous ends or whatever add a little extra. We make one called the Wiggle Rib like that as well. I don't have one with me, of course, but if you pull it up on the website, it's called the Wiggle Rib. and it has kind of bulbous ends on the end, and then it has like a hook point in the middle, and then it's ribbed throughout the bait. But it does sort of the same thing as the bait you're talking about. I actually checked that out last time we talked, and yeah, I mean, it looks like it would work.
Yeah, I like my lures. I mean, I can't get enough of them. I went through a long dry spell where I wasn't able to fish because of life circumstances, but now that's ending.
Yeah, I throw like, 3, 4 things. I have like 90 rods, but I have one that's a Cinco or a stick bait. I don't even buy lures anymore because I'm just going to make it, right?
Yes.
So I have a stick bait for a wacky rig. I have a shaky head that I throw a shaky head a lot. I like to throw flukes. So like specifically on like a hover rig or a super light, like, jig head or something.
Do you throw them weightless?
I have thrown flukes weightless before. Yeah.
That's my favorite way.
I like to get like a 1/16 or a 1/32 jig head, or even if you put like that light of a weight on the actual line, split shot, anything like that. Because if I'm fishing a fluke, I like to have it nose down.
Okay. Okay, that's a good. And one thing I didn't talk about: Fourseven Lures also makes ocean saltwater lures.
We do. So that's actually like a newer market for us, but we're fortunate enough to work with. We work with a bunch of captains out of Georgia, actually, and one guy in particular, Tim. We actually me and my father. My dad lives down there. We chartered a trip with him, and I said, hey, I got this company. Would you be interested in like doing a collaboration? And that just worked out really well. He's been a captain for about 40 years, and he just really knows his stuff. He knows what colors work. And a lot of them are colors that are discontinued. These companies, they make these colors, they're just super popular, and then they discontinue them, and no one ever hears from them again. So I've been fortunate, and he's kind of guided my hand as far as what we've made. And we've made I make a 3.5-inch paddle tail, like the little Kitex. Those do awesome. I make 4-inch grubs, with the little curly tail on them. Those do awesome. And then I also do a soft plastic shrimp, like for under a popping cork or something. Yep. Yeah, similar to that. Yep.
I have caught thousands of speckled trout and dozens of reds on this. And flounder, and that's under a popping cork.
Yeah,
shrimp. And mojotackle.com if you want to see it.
Yeah, shrimp. I mean, everything in the ocean eats shrimp. They're.
Oh yeah, particularly if you're inshore, man.
Oh yeah, dude. If you can't catch something on a shrimp,
they're not there.
Yeah, you're in the wrong spot. They're just not there. Yeah. Actually, funny. We me and my buddy, we did an inshore trip out of Kerr Beach like 2 weeks ago or a week ago at this point, and I brought some of my paddle tails out there, and the guy, was fortunate enough to let me throw a couple paddle tails out there, and I caught a big old red, and then I caught a whole bunch of flounder. It was a great time, man. Paddle tails work. They work for everything.
Oh, I've caught tens of thousands of trout on those. Right here, this is one of my favorite. See, this is a trout.
Mm-hmm.
A trout popping cork.
Yep.
And when you bring that trout in, you hear.
Yep.
And right there. Actually, down here in Louisiana, you can use a swim bait underneath a popping cork, as long as the water is moving. If the water's not moving, eat lunch, man.
Right. Yeah. Because it creates the action on the swim bait. Yeah, that makes sense.
But also, the fish feed when this tide is changing. The tide changes most of the day.
Mm-hmm.
There's only very slack tide is just horrible. It's a waste of time. Just eat your lunch, drink a beer, do what you gotta do.
Yeah, and but the saltwater market is kind of like an emerging market for us. We're we're diving into it. I'm doing everything I can to support the saltwater fishers, because I like fishing. I am agnostic as far as freshwater or saltwater. I just like to throw stuff in the water and get a bite. I don't even care what is biting. Although I hate catfish, but
so yes, I hate hardheads. Hardheads make my head hurt. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. I have scars on me because of those dang things. But, you know, man, speckled trout, when they get over 18 inches, they're wonderful fish. And, you know, redfish, if I catch a redfish that's 25 inches long, he's mine. I'm going to put him on the grill. But, you know, in Louisiana, if they're over 27, you have to throw them back. And the last time I went fishing, I caught a 40-incher and 235s.
Wow.
Redfish. And, you know, I'm like, wow, dude, you rock. And I was telling the charter boat, I fish with a lot of charter boat captains. Mm-hmm. That's one of the greatest things about being an outdoor communicator.
Yeah, I like a charter because it's, especially if you have a good captain, right? It's like, man, I will 100% pay someone that knows exactly where to take me and what spot I need to throw it in. Just put the thing in my hand, tell me where to cast, and it's like, bing, there you go, you got something. And it's like, oh, that's great. Like,
and I'm not proud either, man. If that guy hooks in the big one, here, Jay.
Oh yeah, I'll reel it in. I don't care. Yeah.
My favorite part of fishing is feeling the first thump, but I'm not proud. I got over that.
They call that the there's a saying. It goes, the tug is my drug, you know, and it's like the tug on the line. And I'll tell you, that theory gets put to the test when you throw into a bait fish pile of Spanish mackerel and a shark takes it. That happened with both me and my friend. And you want to talk about the tug? I mean, we both pulled up like 30-pound. I think they were just like baby reef sharks. They were about 30 pounds.
Probably a black tip.
I mean, dude, I fought it for like 20 minutes, man, and it just kept diving and going and going. And you just, like, you can't even tighten the drag down hard enough for them to care. Like, it's just going to bleed line out. It doesn't even matter.
Take the drag down and go, snap, yay.
Well, he didn't snap off. We got them both into the boat, man.
See ya. I just don't like dealing with them because, you know, most of the time when I hook into a shark, I'm surf fishing. I don't want to be anywhere near a shark when I'm surf fishing. Well, they're all over the place, but they're not going to bother you as long as you aren't being stupid. You don't sit there and you know, try to grab a fish when it's in the water. That's dumb. You don't put fish on stringers. That's asking to get in trouble.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're going to grab a shark, you need to grab it in a safe manner, and you need to stay away from the mouth. You know?
Well, I've seen people grab them on their tails, and I've seen the shark turn around, and they're like, ah. Yeah. I've never seen a person get bitten, but, you know, I've seen them get close. First time I caught a shark, I tried grabbing it by the tip of its tail, and it turned around and just about got me. Okay, you can just sit there. And another guy came over and grabbed it and threw it back in the water.
Yeah, they're flexible little things, man. Up under the gills or, like, right on the top of the head and the tail.
Depending on how big it is, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously within reason. Like I said, the ones we caught, you know, they were just babies. They were like 30 pounds each. It was easy for us to grab them and just pick them up. Like, we took a picture, tossed them overside. That was it, you know.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's 42 after the hour. Would you like to do any shout outs, any thank yous to any people, organizations?
Yeah. Actually, we're super fortunate to work with a bunch of promotional guys. I call them partners because I hate the word pro staff, but
I hate that. The word's been ruined.
Yeah, and you know, nowadays it's like, oh yeah, give us all this free marketing and I'll give you 20% off, you know, lures once a year. You know, it's like, what? But we work with a bunch of YouTube partners. Josh at Abide Fishing, Travis does kayak fishing. We work with Fish On with Coach Steve. We work with My Carolina Outdoors. We work with a local guy, Leland Stiff. So we are just very fortunate to.
Roy Widgeon?
Yeah, Roy. Yeah, Roy is super good people. He actually designed the alien logo that you see on all the bags. And actually, here, I have a bag right here. So this alien logo, I know that it's looking weird because my camera is kind of. But that whole like alien with a worm thing, he designed the logo. Roy's good people, man. He's got his podcast and his magazine and stuff that's really doing well. So
he told me that I taught him how to podcast. I'm like, well, I may have gotten you going, but now you're teaching me.
So the master has become the apprentice, I guess.
Yes. I mean, the guy is just next level. I have an enormous amount of respect for him.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, we're just very fortunate to be able to work with such good people in the industry. And, you know, even there's people that I've reached out to because there is no recipe on like how to run a business, and especially in the fishing industry, right? Like,
Yeah.
You look at 100 different businesses and everyone's got a different model and all that, and there's, I never had anyone to like show me how to do this. It's all just like, hey, let me jump in and figure it out myself. So there's been people that I've reached out to that I look to that I see as like successful fishing industry people, and they own their own companies and such, and like, I'm just very fortunate that they've been, forthcoming, and they've like answered, some of them I've barraged with questions, how do you do this? What do you do about this? And then especially when you consider, like, everyone thinks, fishing lures, it's just such this awesome job. And it is, but I mean, it's a manufacturing job.
Yes.
Like, I am buying 55-gallon drums of plastic from a chemical manufacturer, you know, and like, so there's like various things that go along with that, and just some intricacies in the business that like maybe everyone doesn't exactly know. And I've just been very fortunate that, these people are like super willing to talk to me, and like, I've never experienced like true animosity, like someone's like, no, I won't tell you something because I think that you're, a challenger to my business, so
well,
yeah, super fortunate.
That attitude right there, it was prevalent back in the 90s when I got in this business. Yeah. But now people are much more friendly, I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, and I think that the thing is that has been proven to be a terrible business model, right?
It is. Like
you become known as, the person that doesn't want to work with anyone, and then people just like write you off, and they don't, it's like.
Yes. Of course, I was 25 years old when I got into this, and now that I'm more than twice that age.
Oh, don't lie to me. You're not a day over 28.
Yeah. I have gray hairs that are that old. I have kids that are that old.
You're 28 for like the 30th year in a row, right?
Yeah. That's pretty close. But yeah, so man, I really, really had a good time talking to you. Guys, it's Thursday night. Make your plans, man. This up north, I'm sure the bass are spawning. Down here, of course, they're done, and it's like 98 degrees outside right now. But I'm going fishing anyways this weekend. I don't care. I'm just going to go. I might be done by 10, but that's fine. Get out there, go fishing, make memories. Remember, in the last days when you're sitting there talking to your wife, you're not going to talk about the great times you had watching Breaking Bad. I don't care how great Breaking Bad was. I love the show. One fishing trip, 25 equals 25 episodes of Breaking Bad.
You talk about that 10-pound bass that broke you off, right?
Yeah. It gets bigger every time I tell the story, man.
It's always a stump that breaks me off, but I swear it's like a 50-pound bass. I'm like, oh.
Well, we actually saw a flash of this thing, and Zach and I were actually talking about that today. Yeah, about I learned how to fish down south in that one moment.
My personal best for a bass is 6.5 pounds, and I'd probably poop my pants if I ever caught something. Man, double digits, a bass? Are you kidding me? I've never even seen a bass that big. Like, and it's like myth. Like, I know people. Yeah.
I've seen them down here. I've seen them in farm ponds.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like they're not even in an accessible place. It's like on some private pond down a dirt road, with like a trash dumpster next to it. It's like.
Yeah. I mean, I've been fishing and I've seen them on their beds, when look at that thing. And they're like, leave that thing alone. She's spawning. Really? You invite me to go fishing, now you're saying, oh, but you can't catch that.
There was a kid around here went and he just like, I guess he broke into a local like pond. It's, just like a private pond. He broke into it, pulled up a 15.5-pound bass. And there's actually question that perhaps it might be a state record. But it was just like, it wasn't even his pond. It wasn't his property. He wasn't allowed to be there. He just went, 15-year-old kid went in there, threw whatever he had in there, pulls up a 15-pound bass. Like,
When I was 12, I snuck into a private pond, and I caught a 6-pound bass, and I carried it on a stringer all the way home, 5 miles. And my dad had it mounted for me, and that thing it finally fell apart.
Wow.
That thing was probably 40 years old when it fell apart.
That was back in the day when you actually mounted the actual fish. Like
Yes,
nowadays,
it's
you just
actually
go,
not.
you go to the taxidermist and you're like, hey, mount me up a 15-pound bass. Like, all right, $200, here you go.
Yeah, I caught that thing at Toledo Bend.
Yeah, that's right.
Toledo Bend.
O.H. Ivy.
O.H. Ivy. There's a likely story. Yeah.
Yep.
You and the 600 other boats.
Oh, O.H. Ivy, if you catch them, it's going to be like a 13 to 15-pound bass. Those things are giant.
That is a difficult place to fish from what I hear. I've never been there. It's clear water. It's got as many trees in it as, lakes 3 times its size.
Well, and the other thing is that the DNR out in Texas, they literally have hatcheries. They have the Share Lunkers program, right, which is they're using eugenics to breed out small fish, right? So O.H. Ivy, they specifically restock with 13-pound bass and up.
Well, every time a 13.5-pound bass is caught and somebody reports it, they dispatch somebody right away, and that person will drive through the night to get to you. Yep. And you have to sit there and try to keep that thing alive, and then they put it in their aerator trucks and bring it back to their hatchery, and it is bred with fish that were spawned at the Share Lunker program. I had the director of them on twice now. I just tell them, if you build it, they will come, and I keep telling Louisiana LDWF, if you build it, they will come. Look at Bussy Break. There are freaking hotels going up around Bussy Break because of what happened with the. Oh, I get excited, man.
Well, but all I was saying is OH Ivy now is super pressured. I mean, now that it's like literally you go out there, you're going to catch a 15-pound bass, and that's the name of the day. There's actually online, you can look at the statistics, and like in 2025, like this year, there have been something like 613 or more pound bass caught at OH Ivy. So it's like this lake is now super, super pressured. I mean, everyone wants to go out there. The bass have seen every single lure you could possibly throw at them, so it's like. That's
why you want to throw a dice.
Well, yeah, or I mean, something that's a little different, something that the bass just haven't seen, right? Because I mean, at the end of the day, that's going to be what they bite at, especially in those lakes like that. I mean.
Well, guys, it's 50 after the hour. I'm going to have to end this now. Stick around, Philip. I want to talk to you after here. But guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. I can't do this without you guys. And Philip, I certainly can't do it without guys like you. So with that, I'm going to end the podcast. Have a great weekend, guys.